go ahead while you're waiting and just take your hand towels and just roll them up into just a simple little roll. Nothing fancy. All right, and most of us out here have done our posting already. Um, and I'm gonna just jump into the lesson here in just a minute. Okay. So now this one, what I want to work with y'all on this evening is a little bit of as Ryan and I were talking. I've never, I don't even know if I've ever taught this exercise. It was something I kind of generated for myself after Sifu had corrected me several times. And, along the way, just like each one of you, students have been with me for a while, eventually you have to make a commitment to going, okay, by God, this error is one that I am going to try to eliminate as often as possible. So, I mean, I'm a physical person, relatively young at that time, and I'd kick my gym bag and throw my clothes, right? Because I was like, he is never going to have to tell me again to use my waist, right? I was so sick of hearing it, like I'm sure most of you all are, that I swore to myself that by God, I'll make other mistakes, but not that one. And then this next one was the other mistake I had to figure out how to correct. So a lot of times when y'all are working, the exercise you'll practice tonight is a creative restriction. And it's a creative restriction that I developed for myself for core activation. And I had gotten it from another sport or two. Sometimes we'll use it in golf or baseball or things like that, to learn how to make sure that you're doing stuff from your core and not from these traders sometimes, right? So, because sometimes they take over, right? Because you're so used to talking to your mind will talk to your fingers at hand in no time flat, right? So to get that done, you have to figure out a way to make it add more to your training by taking some things away, and it's called a creative restriction. So without going any further, that's where it came from. It's just take your rolled up towel and place it underneath your arm, just like so, one underneath each arm. Okay, here you go, Ryan. Come here. You can just have it. You guys. Well, here, just take this. Two towels in the bag. There you go. Good. Extras. Right. And since they're going to be under your arm, she'll burn them later. Okay. So, all right. So one of the things that that when you're trying to figure out how to get your waist to move, you'll feel that the towels right there are under you. And let's just start with a simple exercise. Okay. Let's just start and just practice roll back and on. Now, don't worry about your legs. We were working on the pebble that moves the boulder a little earlier. But with the towels underneath your arms, that's much better. Okay. Notice that for you to get there, you have to activate through the waist and and that you can't do that abomination of lifting your arms like many of y'all do where your elbows come up. You actually just have to learn to empty your hands. Right. And then they just roll right back and out. Okay. How does that feel across the board? Does it feel different than what you feels very different? Okay. All right. Let's work the other side a little bit. And you better be prepared that it will feel different on the two sides immensely in some cases. Right. It did for me anyway. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you may have the sensation of is that it may feel shorter in some ways. And that's normal. But you'll notice that even if it feels shorter, that I'm still able to go through the full motion. My hands, when I finish on, are still out in front of my foot. So if you've been going too far, this keeps them in a little closer, right? Now, it's not as easy to pull off all the exercises or all your techniques with the towels under your arms. But what it is possible to do is use the creative restriction to allow yourself to find new answers. Now, Bader, you got to stay upright, okay? And notice how again, work on your stance a little bit. Karen, that's a nice stance. All y'all, that's a good looking stance there too. Your bow stances are looking real good. Jeff, you'll have to check your flexibility a little bit because you have your toe at a parallel. And if that bothers you at all, yeah, but when you turn that back toe in, it gives you a little bit more of a range of motion for your hip. Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. All right. Well, then we're gonna just keep working with it. So from right there, let's just take and let's just look at your brush knee. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're doing it properly, now you shouldn't start to look like a transformer, which is what I did. Right? Right? Sound effects help. Right? So, this is where it really helped me learn to empty my hands so that they could float. How many of you, as soon as you start to do this exercise, almost break a sweat? Right? It's, because what will happen is your mind will go clamp down, right? And it creates all this extra tension, right? So you almost have to forget that the towels are there and have no more than just enough pressure under your arms to keep them there. Switch sides on your brush knee. Yes. Yeah. You'll feel, yeah, beautiful. Ryan just said that he could feel his back start to activate a lot more because now your body is searching for ways to carry out the instructions, right? But it doesn't have access to some of the crutches that it's had before. So when you're practicing wind blows lotus leaf, right? Yes. You're sitting there and you're going, right. It feels shorter, but it's not really that much shorter. You're going, okay, how, different exercise. Keep on going with your brush knees. All right, now, Kathy, you've shortened it down a lot. Okay, when you see how low your hand, when you're on the brush knee here, right? Your hand should be able to listen to the seashell. No, it's not brush liver, right? So, when it comes up, you don't want it coming out from here. You want it to raise all the way up. And but for several of you, you're used to raising up your elbows rather than emptying your hands. And that's part of the reason that I, started doing this when I was practicing is because it helped me learn how to use the core and the hands together. Your belly button should be sliding parallel to the earth as you're going back and forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Any comments? I hear. Yes, it works them a lot differently, right? The other thing, and I can see it particularly as Karen's doing it here too. You'll notice that your core has to be in the right places. It has to get synchronized with the work. And so by that, what I mean is that, as I was looking at Karen, she's doing really well with this, is that you can see that now her core is settled over that rear foot, and it's locked, it's loaded, right? It's all loaded. Where sometimes when your arms move, you won't, they'll kind of slop their way through it. When I use the word slop, you're getting a better idea of what I mean, because when you get in here, you're like, okay, no, this is exactly where I need to be. And there's no reason why I still can't do brush knee. All right. So what I'd like for you to do now, switch up and let's do Harding Horse's Mane. Take your time with it. Now, this one always feels shorter to me. Okay. But when you're doing it, don't shorten it up through your mind. It's supposed to feel a little shorter because you have the creative restriction. But don't let your mind go, this ain't right. That you just shorten it up with your mind, right? Stretch it out. Turn the core. Who would have thought that two little old hand towels? Yeah, right. Reel the silk there, Bader. Okay, so when you come back, the hand that's coming back empties and wipes by your face and out. Roll the taffy, stretch the taffy. Yeah. You doing okay? You're working. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're going to feel it in your back. You're going to feel it in your legs because you're actually using it. Right. I mean, you're actually using it. Right. So when you're sitting there and you're working it, you're like, holy crap, this is a whole. The other thing is that ideally you'll feel it working through your legs and your groin. So yeah, that's very good, Karen, Kathy, good. So because when you come forward, you can feel your legs and all participating. They have to, right? Because if your legs don't participate, you end up like this. You got to get it out here. You got to get it back here, or your hand will never make it past your foot, and you'll be doing Smurf kung fu. Okay, do the other side if you haven't already. Hey, Kim, grab my bottle of water right there, if you don't mind, that tall one sitting there on the edge of the picnic table, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Speed, you doing okay there online? You can give me a thumbs up. Good. Okay. You feel like you're working? Okay. Good. All right. Any comments? Karen, Kathy? No? Okay. Feels a lot different. Okay. All right. So here's one. This is one that this was my game changer. This is part of what triggered the whole practice for me. Bat walking monkey. Right. Oh God, Lord help me. Right. But you'll notice that, all these times I ask you to turn when you're sitting there, empty the hand. You have to now. There is no raising of that damn elbow, right? Right. It will float. And then when you get right here, just pull, float, pull. Your core has to do the work. Nice, Bader. That may have been the best one I've ever seen you do. I'm serious. I mean, that's smooth. Just let the hand come out over the top just a touch more. You have no choice. There is nothing better about a decision when you have no choice. And that's what creative restrictions are supposed to give you. Somewhat of a no choice. I have to learn to do this differently. I can't use my old shoddy, 12 gauge to try to get everything done. Every now and then I need to be a sniper. Right. Sometimes I have a claymore. Right. That'll work too. Right. How's that feel, Karen? changes you, right? Changes the difference. The main thing that it created for me on the back walking monkey is that, well, one, for those of you who don't know Dwight, you know, I used to beg him to keep his elbows down until one day I was, you know, finally had enough. And every time he raised his elbows, I would crack him in the ribs with a bamboo stick. He never had to do it again, right? Nothing like no choice, right? But yeah, right. The towels are a much more friendly way, right? But the idea, well, you know, Sifu always used to tell us that pain is a wonderful teacher, right? You know, and so, you know, when you're experiencing pain, you're like, okay, there's something in here for me to learn and not to avoid it. You're not trying to avoid pain. You can't learn if you avoid pain, but you know, finding some discomfort is another way of thinking of pain. So when you're working, the thing that I used to notice is that everything has to finish together. There's not any more of that sloppy of the hands, you know, and all that other stuff. Everything has to roll and move together. Okay. All right. So let's come up. Where are we now? Okay. About quarter till. Come on back up. All right. So the creative restriction to do core activation, right, is the primary pieces of it, or the primary purpose of the exercise. The other one that I used to find that was very helpful was to do the mirror hands, right? So to just to roll and bring the mirror hand up and out, and then circle and out. And that was, you know, you can really, for me, is where I can really feel that turn and core activation. Mm-hmm. And just remind yourself, you're not trying to learn to make your techniques this constricted, but you're trying to add a constriction during practice so that when you finally let it go, you know that the core is doing the majority of the work. Okay, I'm gonna give you just about 2 minutes, and you got free lab play time. Okay, so pick out a technique that you would like to check and see, okay, how would that work? Kathy, if I were you, you know, looking at, you know, some of the things I've seen you work on, there's two. One, backhand intercept center punch, right? Can you do it and keep those elbows where they need to stay, right? Because you'll find for you to walk that technique, that's where you see me getting. Yes, good job, Ryan. All right, carry the tiger to the mountain. You know, another one is oh, you know, would be the ninja hands. But you pick whatever you want. Well, okay. The hardest one for me to do is single whip with this because I feel like a little, yeah, like, yeah, right. Tyrannosaurus Rex, right? But it's actually not nearly as bad. It's that very worthwhile, right? It's very worthwhile to do the single whip because it has to come out with the core. You can't do that pushy thing that a lot of times that some of y'all do where you go, and I'm going, that ain't it, right? It's the hand has to come out. It does, right? But you can feel that, like, okay, there's only one way for this to come out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if it doesn't feel uncomfortable, you're not learning, right? It's just that's part of the practice. Oh, you should be able to do, yeah, yeah. No, that's because you're used to raising up your elbow so much. Okay. You can still get right up into here. You're doing Lady Works the Shuttles, right? Yeah, so I should be able to go out and right into here. I'm not going to get it all the way up, but the main thing is that you get this action, that it has to come from your core, not this slopping around with the hand. Good. Uh-huh. And you'll finally go, okay, I don't have to clamp down so hard. Right? I got a little bit of motion here. But your body will go, yeah. Okay. Take it just a quick break. Um, and I'm gonna get a little swallow of water. Um, you okay, Ken? Oh, okay. All right, good. I just checking on you. All right, so the next part, and I think we'll use the towels for right now as well, is what I wrote down was compression points. Okay, and one of the things that you all are, and I don't expect it from one, two, three, four, too much or five, but one, two, three, I do. Okay, and four, right? Right, I do. And understanding compression points is understanding where am I launching my intent? Okay, where are things supposed to try to come together? And it's good for you to start getting this in your mind, because without a compression point, nothing has come together. You think about what compression means. Everything has come together, then it begins to expand. And your Tai Chi is almost a Sifu Ko used to say, Qigong Ko used to say that your Tai Chi Chuan should feel like a flower opening and closing, right? It's not that it goes open and it just stays open. And sometimes when you're practicing, that's what it will feel like. Unless you were me and it was like it was closed and always stay closed, right? Because right? It was so hard. So compression points. When you're in a compression point, it's pretty much in. Let's do on, for example, because that one's pretty straightforward. Is that when you get ready to do on, you have got to have a feeling inside of yourself that once the hand rise and you're still looking in this direction, because that's where he is, right? Is that as soon as you get ready to go, you'll notice that if you flex that knee, there's this little bit of pull that happens in the core. And this helps because now you don't have a choice, that when you get ready to turn this and move forward just that inch, right? You feel that and you go, okay, there's a moment where you can feel everything has come together and it's ready to release. And you go here, and then you feel it right there and it goes, poof. In every one of your techniques, there's a compression point, a place where everything is going to feel like it's come together. And you have now coiled it up and getting ready to release. Now, I'll give you a good example, or a different example. When I'm teaching or playing golf, for example, there's two compression points because it's two swings. It's a back swing and a downswing. The compression point when you're making contact with the ball is when you get to the ball and you're going to hit it, you want your hands and the club behind the ball, and you want your body in front so that you have all this torque build up so that when you get to make contact, it just flies out, right? When you're doing something like bat walking monkey, for example, there's going to be a moment in time where everything has compressed. You don't just walk through it, right? You have a moment where you sit there just like I did with you a little while ago, Bader, right? To find that compression point like on Lloyd. But on bat walking monkey, if you just go through it, it looks like this. And that's where you start. No problem with that as a starter. But when you start to try to feel the compression of it, you go here, this should pull, and then right there, I feel it here, here, everything's together. It goes, and then it wants to go. See if you can do that yourself. If you keep the towels in, because they'll force you to find it. If you're looking for the compression point, not just to flow, you're looking for a place flow is gathering and releasing. Good, Karen. Nice. That's better, Kathy. Trust yourself. Okay. Just try to trust yourself a little bit more. Okay. For those of you who are thinkers, you're going to try to control it too much. Okay. For those of you who are a little bit more artistic, you're going to kind of flow through it too much. Right. What you want to try to do is have that place, like you said, that everything for just a moment in time comes together and you feel just a little gathering of energy and it just wants to go poof. And it'll do it all by itself. And then you gather again and poof. Cross your hands, Kim. Better. Hey, Kim. Not this. This. Okay. That you're doing this thing again. Okay. Empty the hand. Let it float up. Good, Jeff. That's amazing that that looks good. You're doing good. Cast and all. Kim, Ken, you doing okay? All right. Try not to force it too much. Let it float out of you. All right. Good. Hey, Karen. Nice. Pull with it out. Better. Yes. Let it collect. Don't rush through it, okay? Hey, Karen, don't rush through it. When you get right here, pull back and feel right there. You'll feel it. And it gathers up in that hip and leg and it just wants to go, right? Slow it down so you can feel it compress. And then you choose to let it go. All right, Bob, don't switch your hand so fast. More patience there. Okay, here you are. Hey, Bob, watch. Here you are. Float. This hand doesn't need to move. What happens is this side compresses down and then it releases. Float, compress, and then release. Okay? That's better. Much better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you feel it gathering up in there, Ryan?
That's where it used to go.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Yep. Good. Okay, work your way back. You Yeah, right. All right. So we'll do one more and we'll call it an evening. Okay. The compression point of rollback, Loy. It's in, but if I'm in here and I extend my hands, the compression point in Loy is right here. When I get right here, I ideally will feel that my leg is loaded, my weight is over it, and everything is ready to go. Now I'm choosing which way to go. I could step over here, I could step back and do another, I can launch myself forward, because once I'm compressed, I'm free. In my world, right? Once I'm compressed, I'm free to go where I want to go and do what I want to do. I can go into my single whip. I could go into a back walking. I'm free to choose. But if you don't get compressed, you're stuck because you're double weighted, right? Your options have been cut by 90%. So when you sit back and you sit there, go, okay, that's compression. How do I know? Because I sit here right here and you can see me compressing it. and I'm pulling down and back in my mind just a little bit right there. Okay. Now let the hands float up and pull back on the next one and get it compressed. It's almost like mini posting, but this is one of the reasons why you use posting. Posting by itself is great and it's an excellent exercise and you will gain a lot from it. But when you go to the laboratory, don't forget that the best teacher of movement is stillness. If all you do is practice moving, you're not going to get too much better too fast. But if you will sit there and you'll practice stillness, that leads to movement and lures movement. Compression lures movement in my mental way of saying it. Because once I get compressed, I have now lured a lot of things to me. Not just in technique, but I can choose what I want to do. How's that feel? Feel like you got some good information and some work? Okay. And you can do a form if you wanted to. If I was going to do anything, I might practice the fire set or just but I don't do that. I usually like to just pick a technique or two and just work the technique. Okay. Mr. Speed, you all good?
Yes, sir.